Hello everyone, welcome to Club Reaction to BRANN 3, Rangers 0 here on Club at 22, the Rangers podcast, and we are still winless and we are rock bottom in the Europa group stage. I am Scott Carney. Joining me for this tonight is Alistair Pearson. Ali, that was bad. That was really bad.
That's polite, Carney. That was absolutely fucking dreadful. But they set of players tonight, Carney. You thought with a new manager going in, you would see something, some sort of bounce, or some players would react. But that's if not. I mean, we've seen a lot of bad performance from Rangers this season, and in Europe in particular. But that's one of the worst this season, Carney. That showed me tonight that those group of players aren't up to it. They don't have the character to play for us. And we talked off camera, Carney, before we come on, the basics as well. We just lack the basics. We can't do it. Ali McCoy said it in commentary tonight. It looked like wee boys playing. And I thought that was correct. It did. We've looked like wee boys all season. And it was an utter shambles tonight, Carney. And Danny Röhl's probably looking at that going, the reality's hit him right in the face tonight, Carney, of what he's got to deal with going forward. Because these group of players are an absolute embarrassment to the badge tonight.
If he was
and Fairwell can't get missed tonight either. Because
no,
his set of players.
We'll come to him. If Danny Röhl was in any doubt about just how big the job currently is at Rangers, he'll be left with absolutely no illusions now about just how big the job in hand is. I have never seen a Rangers team make the sheer basics of a game of football look so impossibly difficult, as if we've never done it before, as if we've never passed a ball to each other before, as if we've never won a duel before, as if we've never won a second ball before, as if we've never defended a set piece before. It is, I mean, absolutely atrocious all over the pitch from front to back. It is frightening just how bad that is tonight. That is, honestly, it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassingly bad. I actually feel sorry for Danny Röhl a little bit after he's watched that, because no matter how much this is not on him, and it is not on him at all, there is extremely little hope, belief, patience running through any sort of Rangers fan just now, and for the players to perform like that on his first outing as Rangers head coach is embarrassing, and they should hang their heads in shame. They really should. Again, well, even though you look at some of the players within that squad, you still have to now look at the recruitment process, and that's where the full attention is going to go. I think it's all easy and well and good for Fairwell to sit and double down on the decisions with all the press conferences that we've been privileged to over the past couple of days on his decision, learning from mistakes, etc. Ultimately, the mistakes are going to cost us this season, because you can't even judge that on a scale, Alistair, of progression, or on a scale of where we stand, or on a scale of where we want to be. That is as far away from a Rangers team you want to see, in my opinion.
It's one of the, we've seen a lot of bad Rangers teams, but it's right up there, that team. But the thing is, Carney, we've spent the best part of 30 million, I think it is, in the summer there. On players, and you look at what's on that park, and it's absolute dross. I mean, he made a couple of changes tonight, Carney. He brought Giga in at centre half. Giga, God, 10 million Wolves paid for him, whatever. He's an absolute bomb scare. And there's obviously a lot more other players that just simply aren't good enough. But I don't know where he goes, Carney, with these set of players, because they're just simply not up to it by the looks of it. And it's hard for Danny Röhl, because you can't judge him tonight. The guy's only just in the door.
Yeah.
As it says, the reality's hit him in the face tonight in terms of what these players are about.
Which is nothing. They're about nothing, is what they are.
Yeah, I mean, there's a comment there, gutless. I think that's a good comment to use for them. But Yeah. I honestly thought, and as bad as these set of players are, I thought we might see something. And we saw absolutely nothing, which is extremely worrying, very worrying. And they had to win tonight, Carney, in terms of Europa League for me, in terms
it's
of
done. Yeah, it's done.
yeah.
You might as well play the youth players for the rest of the competition. There's literally no
Aye,
point.
with Roma coming up next to Ibrox, and folk will just say, well, we're not going to the games that are left to buy is a single ticket. If you want to say folk won't buy it, the guys that bought the packages probably won't turn up either, because what's the point? These players, they got no self-respect, Carney, either, to go out and show something. And let's be honest about it, we've played 3 average teams in Europa League compared to what we've played in the last 3-4 years. But what does that make us as a team, Carney? We are below average at the moment. We are an absolutely rotten team at the moment.
Yeah,
awful to watch as well, Carney. I don't enjoy watching Rangers at the moment. And I know you're the same, and I know a lot of other Rangers fans are, but watching at the moment, it's soul destroying watching them, Carney. It's a chore watching them at the moment. Yeah. And I really don't know what he's going to get out of these players, Carney. It's going to be interesting the next 5 games, because that'll determine where our season ends up, these next 5 games. But these players need to hang their head in shame tonight.
Hang themselves. It's a bit extreme.
Hang themselves. hang their heads in shame.
Yeah, no, like I couldn't agree more. And look, it is. I think, as you say, McCoy's made the point, and I thought he's pretty spot on there. That it's men against boys. It really is. This is just a team that lacks any sort of leadership, any sort of real direction. Anybody willing to take a risk, anybody willing to play out with themselves, and they have definitely picked up a number of really, really terrible habits, and old habits die hard. And there's just the work that's in front of them. And I'm at one point during the second half, I'm pointing at the screen and I'm pointing at things on the screen, and I'm trying to explain it to the missus, and she's looking at me like, don't care. But I'm going, if I can see this, why are these professional players not been able to see this? Why can they not see what's happening round about them? But the challenge that this team like to give themselves of just making football look like the most difficult game in the world is it's like something I've never seen before. And the job in the hands of Danny Röhl is it's astronomically big. It really is. It's gigantic. This needs ripped up. Players need to get moved out, and we're in the end of October, and that's just how bad it's gone. You made the point, Ali, of him bringing Giga back in. That's the only real one that I went, I didn't see that one happening. To be honest, he's kind of come in out of nowhere. Everything was pretty much as you expect. But Rangers were never in the game. Not really. We had a couple of moments in that first half, and it is moments that we had. Apart from that, BRANN dominated. And again, no disrespect to them. They're third in the Norwegian league, and we could not lay a glove on them. And Ali, what I said, and I said it in the group chat as we were all talking during the game, during transitional periods, during possession, during out of possession, we look so unbelievably thin and bare across the pitch. We look like there's big gaps all about us, whether players are not picking up the right positions, starting positions are not correct, but there's at times we actually look like a man down. And then if we're going to play a direct ball, we play a direct ball up to Shamiti, who couldn't trap water, but we're playing it up to him, and there's no support. The BRANN players, there's 3 players around Shamiti waiting for the ball to come off of him. They win it and they move forward again. It's basic fundamentals of football stuff, and I don't believe it's definitely not on Danny Röhl, but the players, it's like it's schoolboy stuff. This is stuff you learn when you play football, when you're playing for whoever juniors, when you're younger. You've got to support the guy. If he's got 2 or 3 guys around about him, try and at least make an angle for him, try and at least make a bit of space for him, try and at least give him some form of support. This team did just not doing the basics at all, mate. Like, absolutely not doing the basics. And it is a case of, if it was possible to unteach everything that these players have ever learned about football and start from scratch, I think you'd be in a better ground to go forward, because what they're doing right now is just this constant cycle, this same thing consistently over and over again. We panic when any team puts any sort of pressure on us. Defensively, it generally looks like none of these players have ever played into defence before. James Tavernier is going to get criticised heavily, and quite rightly so. I thought he was abysmal tonight. John Souttar as well. I think question marks are going to more and more getting raised over him. Cornelius and Jiga, both of them, nowhere near good enough in my opinion. And Magoma is a young lad who's been flung in with absolutely no alternative apart from he's going to play, but I still don't think he's good enough to be our first choice left back. And that's just the defence, Ali.
You've not made it to the midfield and attack, have you? Yeah, we were talking a group chat. I just think off the ball as well. I think we're dreadful off the ball.
Oh, so bad.
And you talk about that Gerrard team years ago that they were so disciplined off the ball. We're not. There's big gaps. Teams just pass through us. We labour on a ball, Carney. Physically as well as a team. And I've said this for years. We've been so weak as a team. And this year in particular, physically, we get bullied all the time by these teams. I think we're mentally weak as well, but don't move the ball quick enough. All the things Danny Röhl said in his press conference that he wants to see in his team, we've seen none of it tonight, and that's not on him at all. But it's the basics at first, Carney, that we just can't do. And defensively, we're in utter shambles. We're leaking goals all the time at the moment. And I honestly don't know what you do, can I? I mean, ideally, if you get to rip up and start again, but these guys are on contracts. The loan players in particular, there's no one of them I would keep. Honestly, if there was an option to rip their contracts up in January, I'd exercise it. You go into the midfield. I know you talked about defence. Midfield for me, there was nothing there tonight. Raskin, Rothwell as well, just looked anonymous in the park. Yeah, Asgard labours on a ball again.
There's so many times, mate. There was times we were even breaking their press by getting the ball over the top to him, and he'd try to take 5 or 6 touches to try and bring the ball down and turn with it. And I'm like, just go with it. Like, just go with it. He's a guy that's just, again, major question marks over the signing of him for me, mate, because I'm like, where is this player that we were expecting? Because he's definitely not shown it.
It's too slow in the ball for me, Carney, and I've seen this a few times with him, where he just labours on it too much. Again, for quite a big guy as well, gets bullied off the ball quite a lot of the time as well. And then you look at the front line, Chermiti's a guy that's going to get banged over the head, and you've seen it on Twitter tonight with the 8 million tag, but he looks like a guy that's not seen a football, Carney. He looks like a guy that doesn't score goals. And
yes,
we've been told going by analytics and stats, etc., that he's going to be the best striker going forward, whatever it is.
These for public interest, I would like to see these figures and these stats and whatever, because I really would.
It honestly looks like a competition running up there, Carney. He looks like Bambi and Ice up there, and the ball doesn't stick to him. He had that chance in the first half. The header was weak and did nothing after that. But he got no support either. Every time we put a ball long to him, where he tried to hold it or got a flick on, there was nobody supporting him. It's just, for the back line to the front line, Carney, it's a shambles all over the park. And how Danny Röhl, where he starts with this team, I don't know. For me, we've got back. Yeah, well, for me, I remember Walter Smith coming in years ago. We've got to stop leaking goals. We've got to go right back to basics, strip it right back, and we need to stop leaking goals, because
I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, if we see 3 at the back and more a 5 at the back going forward, just to try and stop us conceding goals, mate, because it's farcical at times, really, just how bad it is. I think for their third goal, there was one shot that I counted 5 Rangers players and 1 BRANN player, 6 including Jack Butland, actually, 6 including Jack Butland, and they scored a goal from it. And I'm like something doesn't add up here. The players clearly don't talk as well, mate. I think it's visible to see. There's no communication on the park. There's nobody telling anybody where to be, what to do next. There's none of that. Literally nothing. I thought Raskin at times was running about like he was the only midfielder on the park and making blocks and doing this and making defensive clearances and stuff as well, as you would expect from Raskin. But even he wasn't great tonight, but it's not helped by what he's surrounded with. And I know I've jumped ahead there, but even Chermiti, it's not Chermiti's fault that they paid Thelwell, first of all, paid 15 million on him and then paid 8 million on him. However, it is his fault when he's not doing what he should be doing. This is a guy that looks like he can't score a goal. His positioning is horrific. The one where Ant-Man's down the right-hand side and he fires a great ball across the box. He's not gambling. He's not even in the right place to be able to take that gamble by flinging himself at it. No excuses for that, in my opinion. His hold-up play, terrible. He did one early on in the first half, I think, held the ball up really well, turned inside and bluttered it to a BRANN player. And I'm like, I can't see £8 million on this guy. I generally can't. And yeah, they'd say every goal that we concede is just, we can concede from a set piece because of course we do. And then the third goal was just the rubbing the salt in the wounds for just how we all feel, I think. Ali, Kevin Thelwell is the problem here, and that's probably what I'm going to start doubling down on now. You look at the likes of we've only got one left back at this football club just now. That's on Thelwell. Magoma should not be the guy that's our first choice. He should have been brought in as backup, and we should have recruited a left back, and we didn't. Sharmiti, nowhere near the kind of quality that we need, no matter how much this potential may be. If he has got potential, none of us are yet to see it, and I think that's fair to say. Asgard doesn't really look like he's got the energy that's required to play in a kind of high pressing, high intensity attacking team. I think he looks like your thing that you say, a kind of flair player, a luxury player at times. We can't afford that. Ant-Man, I don't mind. I thought he was took off a little bit too early tonight. I think he's got the legs about him to run kind of all day. So I've got nothing against him. Gassama, again, not great for me tonight. I thought he was, again, missing, but again, I'm saying missing. We didn't have the chance to really show any of our attacking football or his attacking football due to the way the rest of the team played, but he's one that gets pass marks. You then look at Cornelius, not for me. Generally not for me. Giga, again, not for me. Absolutely not for me. Rothwell, not for me. A guy that just doesn't perform consistently enough. And yeah, that's pretty much the full team. And it's all of the guys that I'm looking at and going, yous are not the right guys for this job, for this team, for what's required at this club to move us forward. And all of that ultimately, we all said, and I know it's only been Danny Röhl's first game, I said I'll be interested to see how this team react when Danny Röhl takes over and we get a new manager and get a new head coach in before I start writing players off. But right now, mate, the buck stops with Kevin Thelwell. He is the one that is responsible for these signings, and so far they're failing, and they're failing in the worst possible fashion.
They're failing spectacular at the moment, and you just went through a lack of players there that we've signed, and from what you've went through there, I think there's only about 2 players there you would say have got kind of not pass marks, but you could see potential in a Rangers team. I've been disappointed. Miovski's another one I've been disappointed with as well.
Agreed, yeah.
Come in, a guy we've been wanting for best part 18 months, 2 years. It doesn't look like Miovski we've seen at Aberdeen. Whether that's the way we play, I don't know. I agree with most of the players you went through there. Something not good enough. Recruitment. And again, we're shopping down in England. We've shopped there before and been bitten by players, and we've went down there, and Kevin Thelwell, and I laugh saying it again, the reason he went down to England because he thought, we'll bring these players up the road and they'll hit the ground running. Christ.
Because he thought it was a quick fix. I think he generally thought it was a quick fix.
He did, and he's underestimated Scottish football. And some of these players that have come in, I mean, there's players like, who's the right back? Aaron's. Send him back to his club if we can. No use. And you go through the back line there, Canny. You forgot Fernandez, who actually finally made his way onto the bench, who's been injured apparently for
apparently
yes.
He's been injured.
But he's on the bench tonight. 3.5 million. Never seen him really. So yeah, for Thelwell to come out in interviews last week and say that he thinks Rangers have signed decent players, and Kavanagh's backed that up as well by saying he thinks they've signed well. There's been nothing to show that we've signed decent players. And like you say, it'll be interesting with Danny Röhl. Can he get a tune out of some of these? He has to get a tune out of them, can't he? Because it'll get worse.
You've got to laugh that Celtic are playing a game tonight and there's a Celtic fan in our live chat. That's a different level of obsessed. Fair play to you, mate. I came up with a theory today, mate, and not a theory, a theory. Like I'm writing down theories in my spare time. I started to think about where we are, what Kavanagh had said, try to piece together the last few days of what they'd said, and I thought to myself, Kavanagh's trying to make it quite clear that he's part of all this process, he's part of all that process. We don't know what was happening previously to that. One theory that I came kind of across my mind, I thought maybe he wasn't fully involved, and maybe since it went so drastically bad, he's decided, right, I'm now going to get involved. And he's decided to himself, as a nice guy touch, as the guy that owns this football club, right now, I'm going to take the hit for you, and I'm going to say, no, you've got my backing, you've got this, you've got that, but and this is probably more out of hope than anything else, but make it in clear and no uncertain terms that both Stewart and Thelwell use are on a very, very sugary peg right now, very, very, and you are very close to losing your job because this is nowhere near the standard or the level of progression that we expected to see as owners after the investment that was made by them and the other shareholders. That is one theory, mate. Generally, one theory. But right now, I can. Kavanagh's a smart man. I think we've all heard him speak over the last few days. I don't believe for a second he's looking at Stewart and Thelwell right now and going, use the guys for me. I think out of to keep face and to try and keep the mood positive and to try and change the narrative a little bit on the way the fans feel about Thelwell and Stewart, I think he decided to double down on them. And tonight, if anything, it's backfired in his face. That's just my take on it. What do you think?
Yeah, Thelwell and Stewart. I mean, Thelwell with the signings, which we've talked about. I've listened to Kavanagh in terms of him sticking up for the two of them, and there's actually a good pod in Heart and Hands where I think it was Colin and it was Andy McGowan, I think, got the chance to sit down with him in a round table. It's right on there. They got a chance to. I think there was only so many people there, and they get invited, and they got to ask the questions, etc. I think it's about 40 minutes long. It's worth listening to. But going by what they've said, they ain't going Kavanagh. Thelwell and Stewart. Listen to them. They're not going at the moment. But it was interesting when I listened to Kavanagh when he was on STV and Sky Sports, etc. And he said about Rangers need to go and sign experience in January, and they've got too many loan players. So that'll be interesting in January. But the two of them, if the Rangers support have made their mind up on it, we talked about it a couple of nights ago, and we've said they've made their mind up on these guys. We can see it. You can see our own eyes that the players on the park aren't good enough. We know that as fans. Your eyes don't lie, and I don't think the two of them will be there next season. I said Stewart, I don't think he'll be there next season. Thelwell's hanging on by an absolute thread at the moment. And it really depends what Danny Röhl can do with these group of players. I feel sorry for Danny Röhl of what he's got to work with, because the reality of what he's seen tonight, he's probably thinking, shit, is this what I've got to work with? And like I say, it's going to be interesting the next couple of games, what he implements in terms of style. And what he does with these players, and does he bring other players completely out of the cold in? I don't know, because every jersey's up for grabs, Carney. Not one guy there tonight. Jack Butland, to a point, I'll give him a semi-pass, but all the outfield players, not one of them, I thought, put up a fight to say to Danny Röhl tonight, I'm here.
I'm your guy. Yeah, I'm your
guy.
Yeah.
Not one of them did it. And that's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think Butland, he gets pass marks, and he, as I say, he made pretty public that he would love to know what goes on in some of the guys' heads, and honestly, so would I. I'm at a complete loss with it all. We've said it about previous managers before that have came into the job, mate, when things are less than rosy, that they need to make decisions. I think now more than ever, I mean every single word by it, Danny Röhl now has to take full command of the squad, take full command of the football and decisions that are happening on the pitch, and make the choices of the players that I want to be there. And see if it is, I generally see if it is Matondo, see if it is Kieran Dow that are showing effort and desire and want to do it, then let them try and show it on the football pitch. And I'm not saying I want the two guys to go back into the squad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying so far from what we've brought in, we're getting absolutely nothing from these guys. And clearly, the majority of what we've seen, their heart is not in it. Their heart is not in this. Be it confidence, be it whatever, it doesn't really matter right now. We are on one of the worst runs of form that I can certainly remember in my lifetime anyway. I can't remember seeing a Rangers team as bad as this. I really can't. And this is after a serious amount of investment in it. Ali, I would give anything for us to be an average team. I'm bored of watching an extremely poor side. I'm bored of watching these players try for a little minute or two, and then the aggression. There is no aggression running throughout the team. There's no intensity in our play. There's no composure defensively or in attack. There's no passages of play. There's no real spark at all within the entire squad. And I just don't know how you fix that. Generally, I don't know how you fix that. All I do know is that he has to have a long conversation with a lot of these players. And the thing is, he's got very short periods to work with the team before the next game rolls about due to the time of year we're coming into as well. It gets hectic over Christmas. We all know that. But he has to make decisions now, mate, and it's got to be for the best outcome for him and for the club and for us to try and win football games. He has to figure out a way. I don't know how he does it, but I think some of the players should be looking at the sidelines for a considerable period of time and letting players like Cameron get him back in the team, play Conor Barron over Rothwell. These guys are Scottish players. They know what Rangers is all about. They understand it, and they'll probably run through walls for you. They might not be the most gifted players, same as Finlay Curtis. Get him playing, man. Get the guy on the park, because we are a team that are desperate for goals and desperate for effort. Like, just effort, the basics of football. Get these guys on the park, because there is no point in continuing on this path with the current set of players that we have. In January, we are going to need to do a hell amount of business again, and January is never a good time to do it. But right now, Ali, I don't see any improvement happening drastically from now until January.
No. You look at the set of players we've got to work with, and you're right in terms of we've got the games are coming thick and fast. We've got Kilmarnock on Sunday. The time the players get back, he's going to have a couple of training sessions with them probably. Then we go Easter Road on the Wednesday. And then we've got the semi-final on the Sunday. And you've got Roma coming up after that as well, I think. So they come thick and fast. And you're right, he's got to make calls on some of these players. He would have watched us before coming in, and he would have watched games of us, and he would have seen. But tonight he's seen it with his own eyes. Who's not up to it, and the majority of them are not up to it. So it's going to be interesting, especially with Kilmarnock on Sunday. Does he make changes? Does he pull players out? You mentioned a couple of players there. Young Finlay Curtis, who I think's been treated bad to a point, because I thought he's done well when he's broke into this Rangers team. We went and loaned a guy for Tottenham and Mikey Moore, who's pretty much taken his position, if you want to say.
Again, another signing that needs serious questions asked.
I know. And we've got our own guy sitting there in young Finlay Curtis, who we could potentially bleed into the team. Does he get a start? I agree. Well, Cameron, I'd bring him in. You even look at the centre halves, can't they? Do you bring Fernandez in? Do you bring him in? Because
you might as well.
It can't be anybody worse than what's there.
It can't be worse. It can't be worse than G.
I actually seen somebody bloody tweet, why don't we play Ciala and what you call Fernandez? Because it can't get any worse. And it's probably true, to be honest. But you just look through the team, and there's really nothing there to hang your hat on. No. Apart from potentially the two wingers who have said all through it, there's something there. We've seen with Gassama, there is a player there. Ant-Man, I think there is something there.
If you get Ant-Man, Gassama will probably create the chances for himself. I think if you get Ant-Man in the correct positions, maybe one-on-one with his counterpart with his fullback. I think you can get something out. I don't think they're the same player, but I think you need to get them in the right positions. But unfortunately, we've got a bunch of players behind them that they've got an inability to create football chances, and an inability to move the ball quickly, an inability to find space and to take teams on. That's the bit. And you could see Danny Röhl on the sidelines tonight. He was telling the players to push up. He's like, push up. He's like, getting too deep. You're getting too deep. And yeah, right now they're just all deers and headlights.
Yeah. There was a period of play at 30 minutes, and this is what Rangers do. They have periods of playing games that we've seen all season, but there was a period at about 30 minutes where they had a decent passage of play, Rangers, and I think you've seen Raskin dropped into the kind of back line and made a 3, and the fullbacks push high, and it worked for us for a wee while there in terms of Danny Röhl's obviously implemented that a bit, but he's got to get something for this team. I'll be really interested in Sunday what he does, what players he brings in, and how he plays. Because I said when he came into Sheffield Wednesday, he didn't implement the way he wanted to play because of where they were. He went, how can I win a game of football, basically, against who I'm playing?
He's ready to do that.
And Kilmarnock come to Ibrox on Sunday. I know they were battered off the Hearts, but Kilmarnock, I don't think will come out and play football against us. They'll make it hard. They'll put all the men behind the ball, give Rangers the ball because we can't do anything. So that's a big game. But I just don't know where we go, Carney. I really don't know, because there's 4 massive games coming up in the next 2 weeks. And like I say, our season could be dead and buried. It really could be.
I think tonight Danny Röhl set out a team that looked, to me anyway, a very layman's football fan. We were 4-4-2 out of possession. We were 4-3-3 in possession. Work hard, press the ball high, get the ball, move it forward. That's what we attempted to do. We tried it maybe once, and then the rest of the full team went, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stop doing that. If you were Danny Röhl, we've not seen the post-match meet at this point. We've come on straight after the game. If you were Danny Röhl, would you be throwing these players under the bus right now? Do you think that's a good move for him? Do you think he should be as open and honest about it and say, hang on a second here, I'm going to need to really properly think about actually who wants to play for me? Because there's no doubt, mate, they players haven't only let themselves down, let the fans down, they've let the new head coach down tonight.
I don't think he'll throw him under the bus. Russell Martin done that against, remember, Motherwell we played.
That's true.
And Russell Martin said that a lot of these players have got to drop the ego. I think he's a clever guy, Danny Röhl, but just listening to him, no, I just expect him to come out. He's only been in the door 5 minutes. He's probably had 2 sessions with him. Doesn't really know the players at all. I don't think he'll throw him under the bus. I think he'll come out and say it was a poor performance, etc. He won't sugarcoat it to us as fans because he knows we're not bloody stupid. But I don't think he'll throw them under the bus. Even though I'd love him to do it, but he won't do that because he's got to try and get something for these group of players. He's got to work with these group of players from now to January. So if he comes in and throws them under the bus, and you know how these players react, Carney, I just think it'll get even worse. And if it could get any worse. So, no, I don't think he'll do what Russell Martin's done. And I think he'll probably say he'll have a few days to work with them, etc. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he says. Probably the guys in the chats have seen it so far, but yes, I wouldn't like to be the players in that dressing room tonight, and I wouldn't like to be Danny Röhl either, because he must be thinking, fuck, what have I come into?
What have I done here? Yeah, as I say, he'll be absolutely... He'll probably be kept awake tonight after watching that about where he goes next and what he does next. But yeah, look, the job is... It's even bigger than I potentially thought. I thought we would at least see something from these players tonight. I'm not naive enough to think that I was expecting Rangers to go in and win tonight, but I expected to see a hell of a lot more than what I've seen. The players were a disgrace tonight, they really were. And the jersey is clearly far too heavy for many of them. That will do us for tonight, Alistair. We'll be back tomorrow night. I'm not in the club live. We'll be back tomorrow night as we bring more reaction from Scotia and Ross in regards to tonight, and then look ahead to whatever we might hope to see on Sunday versus Kavanagh. Ali, thanks, mate.
Yeah, I can't wait to come back on tomorrow and talk about bloody Rangers again. It'll be interesting. Scotia's not been on a wee while, so it'll be interesting to get Scotia's reaction on Danny Röhl and how they've been playing, etc. And obviously Ross hasn't been on too, so interesting to get their point of view. But tonight, Carney, same bloody movie I've watched all season, to be honest, if not worst. And yet it's a big few weeks for Rangers before this international break in November. Massive. And I really don't know where we go, because these players just don't have it for me, can they?
Nah.
They don't have it.
And that's Kevin Thelwell's fault, mate. All of it.
That is. So I hope his son's working bloody 25-8. 25-8. Identify players for January. Christ, if you can't laugh, if you can't have a laugh about it.
Yeah, you will.
No, I know. But yes, I will be back on hosting tomorrow night. So yes, it'll be interesting to see what Danny Röhl said, etc. And we'll break it down a wee bit more tomorrow night.
Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. As I said, we'll be back tomorrow with Club Live, and we'll, of course, we'll bring a reaction to the game on Sunday. So good luck, Danny Röhl. I told you were going to need it. You need it even more so than now. Whether Andrew Kavanagh is going to continue to stick with his doubling down on Thelwell will remain to be seen. As Ali said, by going by that report last night, maybe that is the case. But I think for everybody's sake at the football club, it would be best to see the back of him before we get to the next transfer window, because, my God, there is work to be done on this football team. That is for absolute certain. Thank you for tuning in to us tonight. We are Club at 22, the Rangers podcast, and the guys will speak to you tomorrow night. Cheers.